Land of the free, it lies the home of the homeless. Too many die every day, and we really just want this freedom.
Good evening and welcome to this live broadcast of New Abolitionist Radio. My name is Scotty, of course, broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. On this broadcast of New Abolitionist Radio this Sunday night, today's date is March the 8th. Happy belated birthday, although I told him already. But you know, my brother, if he out there, my little brother, if he out there listening, happy belated birthday to you, bro. New Abolitionist Radio, of course, has been broadcasting on the issue of prison slavery and human trafficking in the United States, and we've been doing this since 2012. And when we look back, that's a lot of time. 2012, that's 8 years. And I will have to say that the conversation has moved in the past 8 years to recognize that the 13th Amendment did not abolish slavery and that they still continue to traffic in bodies. It's just now it doesn't matter. It's African bodies by far and large the most, but it's all bodies they can get their grubby slave catching hands on. We see represented in the prisons today. So that's what this program was established to do, is to raise public awareness, and I would certainly say we have been successful in that. But the mission, the ultimate goal, is to abolish prison slavery here in the United States. So tonight's program, now I really wasn't aware of this young man's case, who has been executed by the state of Alabama, Mr. Nathaniel Woods, who the state knows and everybody else knows did not pull the trigger and killed 3 cops in Birmingham, Alabama in 2004. Allegedly, these 3 cops were serving an arrest warrant on an apartment that Nathaniel Woods shared with a roommate. His roommate was Kerry Spencer. But the state of Alabama murdered Woods even after the Supreme Court, of course, stopped the execution. First, they gave people hope, like they was going to review it, stop it, maybe order a new trial, whatever. But they declined. It was just teasing. Those people on the Supreme Court were just teasing with some justice, and justice was denied. So, you know, the United States has yet to unite with other modern nations in the world who have abolished the death penalty, and they continue to use capital punishment, and they belong, you know, they want to talk about axis of evil and where other countries stand on this issue or that issue, but pertaining to the issue of human rights and capital punishment, the United States is in a coalition with China, Saudia Arabia, Iran, North Korea, just to name a few countries. But most countries, I do believe, all part of the European Union, have abolished the death penalty. So again, this happened in 2004. Alabama just executed Mr. Woods, and even the sister of one of the victims said that he shouldn't be executed. And Governor, I guess it's Kay Ivey is her name, refused, you know, to give a clemency or whatever the power of being the governor of Alabama, you know, gives her to intervene in such a case. But she didn't, or obviously we wouldn't be talking about Mr. Nathaniel Woods in past tense, as in Alabama murdered this man. Now, Alabama and its prison system was the subject of a Department of Justice, U.S. Department of Justice investigation, and was concluded to be in the entire prison system to be a violation of the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution. When we're talking about what happens behind the enemy lines of USA Inc., everything is, or they try to make it fall in the context of the Constitution. It's supposed to be the supreme document, although they have co-signed but don't enforce other treaties on human rights that they have signed up for. So human rights is a very serious issue behind the bars, as some people say. And, here is a person who has been put to death for simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time, to hear some of the accounts that I have read. So they say, I don't, how the media likes to poison the well, and I have seen no convictions, but I don't even know what the warrant was for. You're going to serve a warrant on who? Was it Spencer? Was it Woods? But 3 police officers going to serve a warrant. And it's perhaps people out there who have more of the details than what I have. And then, so Mr. Spencer and Mr. Woods is supposed to know you coming, right? They got to know in advance that you coming, and then conspire to murder these 3 officers. And that is what Mr. Woods was convicted of. And so we'll get into some of more of the details. But, it's impossible for Woods and Spencer admitted that he is the sole person responsible for firing the fatal shots of Carlos Owen, Harley Chisholm, and Charles Bennett. And again, this happened in 2004. The Alabama still charged Woods with the capital offense of killing cops, because that's what it is, no matter what state you live in, what territory, what colony. If it's in the jurisdiction of USA Inc., if you kill a cop, that's like automatic death penalty, okay? If they kill you, well, we all know they may get death duty with pay. So we want to take a look at that. And then this is campaign season. Look, the fight right now politically, it's in the Democratic primaries. Donald Trump isn't even, North Carolina, I believe, canceled their Republican primary. South Carolina did too, I believe, because nobody's challenging Trump. Okay, nobody's challenging Trump for the Republican nomination. So the real fight for the issues is between the campaigns of Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden for the Democratic nomination. And Trump is secondary, and Trump is a system that is so corrupt that it allowed a person like Donald J. Trump come into the most powerful position in the world, certainly in the United States with the power of the executive branch. But so we have to compare these 2 men in their legacy in criminal justice and on prison slavery issues. And people have to make up their mind, and that do vote, and who they throw their support behind and resources behind. You got to make sure that you know that this information is correct, because I've been observing a lot of mainstream media and even the underground black media, and they're not really covering issues concerning prison slavery. Even when a presidential candidate, a contender, Bernie Sanders, tweets out that our system of mass incarceration is racist and must end. In Mississippi prisons, there have been 24 deaths in 67 days, overcrowding, medical neglect, and inhumane conditions. I stand with the incarcerated, their families, and the Mississippi Prison Reform Coalition. So that came out yesterday. And for those who follow these type of issues, that follow the social media accounts that follow these issues, and the prisoners themselves have access and established accounts as ways to get out information. But for a very long time, people have been talking about these deaths that's been occurring in Mississippi. Now, I mentioned earlier that Alabama already was investigated by the DOJ. Now, we talking about political power, or the power of the POTUS. That's, you might well say, that's Trump's Department of Justice. William Barr is his man. you know. And for all the appearances that they want to give, like, you know, they're independent. No, they're not. No, Trump already pulled that cover off, and openly, you know, seeks to sway. See, he doesn't know. It's not that he doing something so much more corrupt than what the other ones do. It's just that he isn't smart enough. This is his first elected office to know that certain things you only talk about behind the scenes, you know what I'm saying, over dinner in a fancy restaurant and, you know, with your security. And so that's Trump's problem is he speaks out loud the things that only the establishment's only supposed to, you know, negotiate behind the scenes. But we're not going, you know, Donald Trump supports the death penalty. Where does Joe Biden stand? Do you know that? And he, you know, this is an issue that affects us all. But, you know, we are on a network that targets African Americans and the African diaspora. And this, we are, you know what I'm saying, the ones that are overrepresented on death row and getting put to death. So, you know, this is, I think that we need to get more involved as a movement of those who want to abolish prison slavery, which also includes abolishing the death penalty. We got to get more organized in electoral politics and identifying, you know, avenues through the system, because we're not ready for revolution. Malcolm X said, put revolution out your mouth if you ain't ready to bleed, and I don't think too many people, not enough people ready to bleed. So what's the only avenue we have for even if it's just minor changes, but, you know, not a total overhaul of the system, but what can you gain? This is the time, you know, to get some of your demands met. And so certainly, you know, it's no secret that Sanders' Prisoner Bill of Rights, which was first created by prisoners during the 2018 strike, he didn't incorporate them all into his criminal justice platform, but I would say at least 7 out of the 12 or 10 demands that prisoners themselves put out, like the right to vote. This is the only candidate I've seen, unless Jesse Jackson did it in 84 and 88 and had it part of his platform of giving prisoners right to vote and ending prison gerrymandering, then Sanders would be the first. We are at historic, when you look at it, you know, in terms of time, look at how much time it has taken us over 150 years to even put this question, you know, to the mainstream, is why does prison slavery exist? Obviously, because you didn't abolish slavery, exploiting the loophole of the 13th Amendment. So we'll be opening up the phone lines for those that want to give us a call. We should be joined tonight. Of course, Tag is with us from New York, longtime abolitionist, as long as I've known him, and met him at the Millions for Prisoners Human Rights March in Washington, D.C. I think that was 2018. When was that? 2017? And Tag, let me open up your mic and welcome you in here. When was that rally at? What year?
Yeah, I believe that's accurate. But these days, you know, can get the years kind of blurred a bit. But I believe that you're accurate when you said it was 2017, right? I know it was in the warmer months, August, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was in August to coincide with Black August. So, you know, that's what we're laying out for a panel discussion tonight. Of course, we're going to be joined, and probably already are joined, by Kevin and Sophia for a panel discussion on the death penalty and the inhumanity of the prison slavery system here in the United States. So if you are, I believe we have Kevin there. Let me unmute him. And I believe this is also Sophia. Are you both of your mics open?
Yeah.
Greetings to
my
you,
mic
Kevin.
is open. Peace.
And on 917, do we have Tag? Isn't it Sophia?
Yes, it is. And just double checked, and it was 2017 millions for Prisoner Human Rights Month.
Okay. All right. So 917 failed to respond. So if you are on the line and just can't talk right now, just hit ***. And if you want to join the conversation, you can give us a call, 704-802-5056, 704-802-5056. You can also join us at uberconference.com/Black Talk Radio Network. You can connect with your device that way, and you can chime in by just hitting ***. We do ask that you always check your background noise. So where do you want to start, Tag? And if you wouldn't mind introducing Kevin, just giving us, his short bio, and let him come in.
Yeah, absolutely. So been building and working with this brother for a minute now, and so in the way of bio, our brother Kevin Steele is a formerly enslaved person, father, abolitionist, and member of the Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee, participant of both 2016 and 2018 National Prison Strike, and certainly close comrade of mine, and greatly appreciated to have you on the broadcast tonight.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. So just, we've been talking about this issue of the death penalty, and I know just immediately, on hearing what was going on, you had responses, and just wanted to start from there. What was your immediate response on being made aware of this, and where are you at now with what happened to Nathaniel Woods?
Yeah, can I curse on here?
We rather not, because we try to, reach as many family.
Okay.
So, but you won't be censored if you do.
I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Because
it do make you want to curse, don't it? Make you want to scream or holler like Marvin Gaye said.
Yeah, this case really frustrated me, and that's why I reached out to Tag and everyone else that I know that's close comrades of mine, to figure out who spoke and did we have a voice in this conversation, this discussion that's going on, because it pissed me off really bad. Not that I know Nathaniel Woods, because I don't know him personally, but it's just damn, they're about to they're gonna murder someone that had nothing to do with what's going on. And obviously this happens all the time, right? Not in the judicial system, but just out in the streets, the Mike Browns, the Tamir Rice. So we constantly see people that get killed for something that's unnecessary or something that they didn't do. So that's not what bothers me. It's just because I was enslaved at one point, and to just imagine that I was on trial and I was in jail for something that I didn't do, and I'm about to die for it. It was amazing. And for me personally, that I was in jail for a crime that I was overcharged with, that bothered me so much. So I really wanted to speak on it. I wanted to speak on it before the brother died, and to try to help as much as possible to get a clearance of what is going on in the situation, or just to give a voice out and to try to motivate his brother, Nathaniel Woods, to give his piece on the situation so his voice could be everlasting. His name is everlasting, but it hurts me that he didn't give a final statement before he was murdered. And just to go into that I was really looking deep into the case. So most people, for those that don't know, that his co-defendant, this is 2004 in Alabama, his co-defendant confessed to the crime, saying that Nathaniel had nothing to do with the crime. He ran. He was his co-defendant, like, blatantly, like, it was not like no, like a written statement where you could be like, all right, nah, he didn't write that. That had to come from some type of preparation from a lawyer. These are his words. He's cursing in his written statement. He's speaking ebonics for like slang and stuff like that. He's really speaking about the case, right? Like, Nathaniel had nothing to do with it. Basically, he's saying like, bro ran when he said Nathaniel stood in shock as if he got shot, and once he realized he didn't get shot, he took off running. Like, but he said it in a more burglar way. Like he was cursing in his statement and everything. So that's not coming from no lawyer. There's not no term like this is this man's words, right? So for them to not believe that is like, damn, that sucks. And even if they did believe it, it's just like they didn't give a damn. They didn't care. As long as someone was killed, and eventually he's gonna be killed. That's all they care about. Like these police officers was killed. People gotta die for this, right? And this is in the government's mind. People have to die for this. So if Nathaniel Woods is he's up deck first. He's gonna die first. His co-defendant is gonna die second, and that's just what it is. And just looking at this case, I might be long-winded, but because it really bothers me, and just like one of the officers' relatives, like I'm gonna quote her. She said, "Partial justice has been served today for our families. One cop killer down, as we patiently wait for the next one." And it's just like, evidence doesn't matter. And I have conversations. I don't know how long I have to speak, but let me get this piece out. I have conversations with people about the justice system and just about what's justice and injustice and what makes justice. And that is so far-fetched and just so it's nonsense. Because one can go like, if your listeners is into like urban culture and the hip hop culture, like 6ix9ine, a rapper, he could do everything that he said. He could rap about everything that he rapped about and commit everything that he committed. But he can go become an informant, give up all this information, and reduce his time from like 65 years to 6 months. It's not about justice. The system is not about justice. It's about it's about bodies being in prison. Because it's all the mindset from our forefathers, not our forefathers, pardon me, from the forefathers like Washington and the rest of them, the rest of them white folks. The mindset for them, it trickled down. So it's not that slavery ended, which like factual that the 13th Amendment let the mass incarceration system and all that still consists of slavery, is that the mindset never changed. So they don't give a damn about if someone committed a crime as long as somebody is doing the work. As long as someone is doing the enslavement work, that's all they care about. So if I catch a crime today, as long as I say Tag has more crime than me, that's all they care about. They'll let me go. As long as Tag goes to jail. So it's not about justice in their eyes. As long as somebody's in prison. That's all they care about. And that's what like bothers me. So like I was really thinking like, damn, like this sucks. And the thing was black, and I was thinking about like Ethan Couch. We all remember Ethan Couch case, the affluenza case, where he killed 4 people in 2013. He killed 4 people. They said he was too rich. He was too affluential that he didn't know right from wrong. So they gave him 10 years on probation. He killed 4 people. from drunken driving. I had a fight. He's doing 10 years on probation. I had a fight. Kevin Steele had a fight, and I did 10 years in jail.
Wow.
So it's so sad.
I feel you, man. It's no justice, and don't feel like or bad about you were saying you was looking to speak and raise your voice, but it was a lot of voices raising his case, including a whole lot of celebrities.
Yeah, definitely.
Whole lot of celebrities, and his case his innocence was well put out there. So, but let me just share some details. Now, I did link for the listeners or those who will consume the podcast on blacktalkradionetwork.com later. Let me share some of them details before we hit this break coming up at the half-hour mark. But here's some details from the Daily Beast. I wasn't able, it's a very long, detailed article, so I wasn't able to read it all as I was trying to, update myself on this case, because it only came to, my attention is when, all these celebrities jumped aboard. I wasn't seeing it in the national media or anything until it was too late, and that's kind of design as well. Mm-hmm. But it says that, the defense maintained that the shooting wasn't premeditated, but a terrible knee-jerk reaction by Spencer. That's not the part I'm looking for. Okay, both Woods and Spencer testified during the trial, telling the court that the three officers had come to the home several times before looking for another roommate, which was Tryon Bubba Cooper, who dealt drugs there. According to a 2012 affidavit, Cooper, this is the roommate who was, as far as I can tell, the only one who was selling drugs, and the only ones possibly the cops would be looking for to serve a warrant on would be him, would be the logical choice from the information that I have. But it appears these were dirty cops, according to Cooper. Cooper's been admitted paying off officers Owen and Chisholm for 2 years to, quote, protect my drug business and make sure that no one else sold drugs in my area of Birmingham. So wow, man. But after he was charged with attempted murder in April 2004, Cooper said the officers raised their price, which he could not afford, and he began avoiding the house to avoid a confrontation, the court document states. I feel like if I was there, it would have never happened, Cooper told the appeal. So the verdict did not meet in a unanimous verdict, but according to Alabama law, they don't have to have a unanimous verdict, apparently. And it says his legal attempts prove unsuccessful, citing underlying corruption involving the officers who received $400 a week for 2 years from Cooper, and the fact that both roommates did not intentionally plan the deadly shooting. As I was saying earlier in what I wrote up for our description, how you charging conspiracy to commit murder on Spencer and on Spencer and Woods, you going there looking for Cooper. They didn't know that you was coming, so how can you premeditate or conspire and plan to kill these people? And then Spencer saying I was the only one who was shooting and Woods ran, according from what we heard from Kevin. So, this is certainly something that is totally all within the bounds of prison slavery, or in the context of prison slavery. It's just ridiculous. And so let me see if we have our other caller on the line. I do believe we have Sophia joining us. Sophia, if you'll hang tight with us on the other side of this break, then we'll come right to you. You're listening to New Abolitionist Radio. We broadcast or publish a podcast on Sundays at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be back on the other side. You are tuned in Black Talk Radio Network. For podcasts and live program scheduling, visit us on the web at blacktalkradionetwork.com.
The police the same way. They put their club upside your head and then turn around and accuse you of attacking them. Every case of police brutality against a Negro follows the same pattern. They attack you, bust you all upside your mouth, and then take you to court and charge you with assault. What kind of democracy is that? What kind of freedom is that? What kind of social or political system is it when a black man has no voice in court, has nothing on his side other than what the white man chooses to give him? My brothers and sisters, we have to put a stop to this. And it will never be stopped until we stop it ourselves. They attack the victim. And then the criminal who attacked the victim accuses the victim of attacking him. This is American justice. This is American democracy.
And welcome back to New Abolitionist Radio. 917, is that our expected guest, Sophia, on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Great.
Good evening. You've been hanging on a while and listening to the conversation and some of the details surrounding this case. What would you like to express as it pertains to Nathaniel Woods' murder by the state of Alabama and on the death penalty in general, whatever you like to share?
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, first let me thank you and your team, of course, TAG, for having me on the show tonight. It's a great pleasure to be back with you, Brother Scotty. So yes, this and I have to say, Kevin, your part was excellent. I feel those emotions, and to be honest, it hits hard, and that's the thing for me when I first heard it. I think I heard it the morning of when things were supposed to go down, and I happened to have heard it on like mainstream news. Waking up, I'm just hearing of this case, and I'm thinking to myself, where was this case all along? It seems that they're now wanting to put it out there in the news when it's almost too late for something to be done. And my thoughts on this is that this is completely utter rubbish. This is a man who's innocent, who has said he's innocent, whose co-defendant, as was said, confessed to the crime, and yet he's been killed. And similar to what Kevin said, the fact is that all of this has been proven, all of this has been said, and he has still been killed. It's mind-blowing to think that they did not do anything to stop it. That so-called stay that they put in place at like a few hours before, that was bull crap. I kind of feel like they did that to take pressure down from off of them. I kind of feel like that was a gimmick, that was a joke, because it came last minute and nothing came out of it. And the way they did it was they put the stay on, and you didn't even know that it was lifted. You just heard that the execution is going through. So, this is evil. I mean, I'm trying to think of words to call it that's beyond the words that we know. This is completely evil. This is just, again, America showing who America really is. Ultimately, we see that this country it doesn't care for justice. And again, to what Kevin said, it's just about who can we pin for this crime. Let's not do the work and really find out who did this. And even if they were to find out who did this or who did anything, they have to go to that mile of doing injustice where they now overcharge the person, right? In this case, anytime a cop is killed, that's it. Someone has to go down. And that person and that person's friends and families all have to go down. They're all harassed. They're all somehow tortured. So I can't imagine this was, I can't imagine what his family and friends are left with. Someone is just taken from you, and you don't even, as it was said, he didn't leave any last words. This is ultimately mind blowing, and what kills me is that this country, people like to say we're living. This is the greatest country, right? We have all great freedoms here. This is the greatest place to be. And, my thing is, how is that so when we have people daily dying for things they didn't do, or they're going down for things they may have done, but why are we still holding on to punishment? Where does that get us as a nation? So, that's the other part of it. Like, how is this justice? How do you go to bed at night and live with this?
I would say,
this is life.
And this is political as well. And when I say it's political, that's because he was killed, he was murdered according to, and I would say premeditated, because he falls within chargeable offenses under laws that have been written by legislators, laws that were passed, and laws that can also be repealed. And so you mentioned the sister, that this is what the sister said. She said she just wanted her brother to have another shot at a fair trial. And Governor Ivey, I wish you would just please look at the information, the transcripts, everything that happened in this trial, and please give him a chance to have a fair trial. Pamela Woods said on Wednesday, "Here the evidence that proves that my brother would never do anything like this. He is a very loving, caring person and has a very meek and mild personality," which goes to what Kevin was saying, about him, Spencer, the roommate, saying he ran, scared after he realized he hadn't been shot, that fight or flight mentality, or not mentality, but actually it's a human instinct, either fight or flight, to stay alive. And he flew, and he did save his life by getting, out of the way of this shootout. Spencer, it sounds like Spencer had with some corrupt cops, and then only to end up murdered by the state of Alabama. So I tell you, the only way, speaking to the premeditated part, though, is that's where people during this voting season, you have to look at these candidates. I'm trying to do a program later this week with journalist John Jeter. He's based in Costa Rica, but he doesn't believe the results of South Carolina, where 60% of the voting electorate, which means, registered voters, doesn't mean they all show up because they didn't. But South Carolina and black folks supposedly supporting a man who helped put these type of laws in place. Joe Biden successfully authored legislation in that 1994 crime bill to make nonviolent crimes that's connected to drugs a death penalty. You get the death penalty for that, and that's what, and that's who victimized this young man, Nathaniel Woods. All of this stuff has a long paper trail, okay? And so it doesn't make sense. And so what John Jeter is saying, that he believes that South Carolina was rigged. And then when you look at the problems that black and Hispanic communities had, where they deliberately shut down hundreds of polling places, then you got these long lines in Texas, and then you had all these glitches and problems in L.A. County, where a lot of black people live, in Los Angeles County. And so, but it's still not enough people turning out to vote. And another person like Joe Biden, how can we'll say anything about Trump when Joe Biden is his mirror reflection? It just, when you look in the mirror, it got a D instead of an R. When you look at them on the criminal justice issues, when you look at them too on the death penalty, You know, Donald Trump doesn't have a long political history, but he took out a front page ad in the new, or I should say a full page ad in the New York Times, and they took the money to call for, you know, the lynching of the Central Park Five, those young men who had been wrongfully convicted. So you know where Donald Trump stands on the drug penalty. And recently I actually got some audio of that Trump wants to expand it further than Joe Biden got it. So again, even if...
Now to the Trump presidency, and President Trump unveiled his plan for fighting the nation's opioid epidemic.
It's a tough crime initiative that could include the death penalty for some drug.
Okay, let me cue this up a bit. We having some issues with this YouTube video. But so we know where Donald Trump stands on the issue of the death penalty. He want to kill more people. Now, I don't know if y'all keep up with international news, but in the Philippines, Duarte is, if your neighbors call in to the police department, or if the police just want to target you, accuse you of using drugs or selling drugs or both, doesn't matter. These police been shooting these people down dead in the streets. There have been marches and you know, demonstrations just like we see here in the United States. And Donald Trump praised that man for his war on drugs, where you got the police just straight up executing people in the street. That's where Donald Trump is. He wouldn't care if it, you know, he would love to have that power. Okay? And Joe Biden, to me, is no different, but this is Trump pushing for more death penalty for some quote-unquote drug dealers, which Nathaniel Woods was not, just in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong roommate, and these dirty cops just happened to come while he was at home. So here we go.
Traffickers. CBS 4's Angelica Alvarez has the details from the White House.
Melania Trump introduced the president in New Hampshire.
I'm proud of this administration's commitment to battling this epidemic.
The White House chose the Granite State as the backdrop for announcing the president's opioid plan, a place he once described as a drug-infested den.
I see what you're going through, about as bad as there is anywhere in the country.
The president's initiative is getting the most attention for its crackdown on drug traffickers.
If we don't get tough on the drug dealers, we're wasting our time. Just remember that. We're wasting our time. And that toughness includes the death penalty.
And the president repeated his demand for a wall on the Mexican border, saying it will stop the flow of illegal drugs. The White House is also taking aim at the healthcare industry.
All right, we'll leave it there. So, you know, we got Donald Trump, who is the current POTUS, giving the thumbs up and gave him the weapons to do it, because Obama going out the office had stopped a weapons transfer, a sale of weapons to their military because of this issue of them just murdering people, just accused of using or selling drugs in the Philippines. And of course, Donald Trump gave them, when he came in office, gave them the weapons, and then praised this guy while he had his the law enforcement apparatus in the country murder innocent people. So any thoughts?
Yeah, Brother Scotty.
Yeah.
There's someone, we have a caller on the line who has an urgent prison slavery related announcement and had some insights on this. It would be area code 413. Do you see her?
Yes, and just unmuted to Mike 413. You have some urgent news for us?
Yes, I have urgent news into this. That guy that was Nathaniel, I went deep into his situation. The fact of the matter is he was proven innocent. A lot of people don't watch these documentaries that's coming on TV. They take it as, oh yeah, okay, they say it's fictional. But if you look into the books and read and listen to what our old ancestors were telling me, teaching us. My grandmother My grandmother fought for our rights and everything, marched with Martin Luther King and everybody. This just not has been going on. This has been going on for years. This has to do, all these wars that are being fought, who do y'all think is paying for this? How do you think that the drugs came into the neighborhood with the corrupt police? This man went to death. He was murdered. Like that young man said, that man was murdered. And his friend said the friend that they came to the house with these corrupt police officers, it was a cover-up. That man was murdered because they are paying for wars. They are paying for the CIA. It goes deep. They need to read these books that these people are putting out. Take heed to these documentaries that are coming out. They may put fictional, but don't. And if you don't believe the fictional, go into the books. Like my grandmother used to always tell me, and my grandfather used to always tell me, go into the books, read it, go back into the books, because they are telling the truth. This man was murdered because of corrupt cops for money. I watched a documentary last week that came on. It went back to the Reagan, what's the name?
Administration.
Yeah, the Reagan administration, to where one black dude, I guess he was young, and he went in and the CIA forced the guy to sell drugs, had all these drug dealers selling drugs to promote a war. When the state police got involved in it, now the big honchos who had something to do with Reagan, the presidents, and all of that, pulled out. Well, we're not gonna back you anymore, because now it's getting too hot. Because now the state police, the FBI, and all of this is getting involved. They are fun, and they say he was innocent. He ran. Who's running? If he did something, no one is running from that. This makes no sense. It happens, and just like the slave with the system, this goes back to all the presidencies, Donald Trump and all of them. They know what's going on, and this is what they want.
Yeah, this didn't happen overnight.
Poppy seeds has not grown in my backyard.
Yeah, this didn't happen overnight.
Poppy seeds are not grown in my backyard. This has been going on for years, and my grandmother told us this. My grandfather taught us this. Look at what you're doing. Look at your surroundings. This has been going on, all this conspiracy, these books. It's mad books out there that teaches us this, but no one takes acknowledge of this. And I sat here and watched. I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I watched this, and it's on YouTube. It's on Sling. It's on Netflix. These documentaries are real. You just have to do your research, and you will see it. Just like the coronavirus, it was written in the book. A man wrote this in the book, and now it's here.
Yeah. I got to stop you there though. We do have some coronavirus coverage. Speaking of coronavirus, and I know what you're talking about, the Dean Koontz book, but that was just a coincidence.
Yeah.
He named it something else after a Russian city. So it's a hell of a coincidence, but yeah, my next door neighbor showed it to me. I looked into it. It's
no,
Wuhan,
not even that. It's not even only that book. Look up
yeah, but we want to stick. We want to stick
you
to the
read
topic
that,
of
everything is happening now.
Okay, yeah, but we want to stick to the topic of prison slavery and the death penalty.
Yeah, let me
but people can check. Let me just say this: people can check out BTR News tomorrow night. David Wren will be back with us, and we'll be covering the coronavirus just for that program.
No, I just use that as an example.
Yeah, but
I'm just using that as an example. But
okay, I understand.
This man died for no reason. And
no,
like
he
his
died
friend said,
because somebody murdered him. It wasn't for no reason.
They basically murdered him to keep him quiet.
Keep
him quiet.
But in terms of watching documentaries or reading books, I learned this just by reading politicians' records. So you got a man right now, 65 delegates in the lead for the Democratic nomination, and it's just getting started. It's not over. But Joe Biden, I started doing my really deep dive research into him, and I did not know that this man was around when Jimmy Carter was president, and Jimmy Carter had started dismantling. Because, you know, you want to go back to the conspiracy, Nixon's chief of staff confirming that Nixon said we got to do something about these anti-war hippies and these black people. We got to figure out a way to target them, and we're going to do it through the drug war. And so Nixon has started building, you know, the maximum mass incarceration of prison slavery, increasing prison slavery. Carter came in later. He didn't come in right after Nixon. I think it was Ford after Nixon resigned. But then came Carter. Carter started dismantling that at the federal level. And Joe Biden, the Democrat, was criticizing Jimmy Carter for being soft on crime. Why are you dismantling this and that? And that's how far, 60 years, that goes back 60 years that Joe Biden has been one of the architects of prison slavery, modern prison slavery in this country. And he even helped Ronald Reagan get elected by criticizing Carter on being soft on crime and punishment. And then he was quite successful under Reagan, teamed up with Strom Thurmond out of South Carolina, that old racist who had raped his mama's maid, I guess, because after he died, his black daughter comes forth. But that's who Joe Biden teamed up with to pass these federal laws and get the states also, you know, to go ahead to write these type of laws, expanding the death penalty to where you can murder somebody like Nathaniel Woods, who was just happened to be living at a house where some corrupt cops came and a shootout occurred between them and the other roommate, and he ran away, but now he's dead.
Can I say something? It also goes back to Larry Davis. Let's take it back there. Larry Davis, same thing. Shot the cops up because they wanted him to sell drugs. Then on his day of release, he gets murdered. How did this man get away? How did this man even come in contact with Larry Davis? It's the same thing. History is repeating itself over and over and over again. Until we do something as a people, it will never change.
Now,
it will never change.
Let me say something.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, so Larry Davis was killed in jail. And
yes, he was.
Yeah, so to go back to this is a topic at hand, right? Because this is about Nathaniel Woods and just like mass incarceration and just the whole enslavement system, right? And you mentioned you mentioned something about Reagan and just like how, and even with Biden, he ties into that system as well, into that administration as well. And just to look at it in hindsight, right? Reagan and his administration, they declared a war on drugs in 1982, in October, right? And the war on drugs was about crack cocaine, right? Crack cocaine didn't hit the streets till 1985. They declared the war in 1982. But it really hit with the drugs.
If you look at the documentary and read the book, it hit it before 1985. They just put it out there. It had been hit the streets.
Yeah, it actually started, without getting hung up on dates. It started during the Nixon administration. So Nixon, that was like
that's right, baby.
70.
No, yeah, I do. I read every day. I'm in them books, and I make sure.
Okay,
Mom ain't raised no dummy.
Yeah, no. I'm not coming at you. I'm not coming at anyone. These are facts I'm giving you.
And I'm giving you facts.
Reagan declared a war on a drug that, at the time, 2% of the nation decided that drugs wasn't a problem to America. 2% of the nation declared that drugs was a problem. Only 2%.
Because they were funding the wars.
No, listen what I'm saying. 1982, only 2% of the of America said drugs was a problem. Why would he declare a war on something
to
that
justify
only 2% of the people?
to justify locking up people, the prison slavery
so
system.
Only 2% of the people decided that this was a problem. So why would he declare a war on something that only 2% of the people that decided that was a problem? He declared a war on something.
They only wanted to keep it in the ghettos with the blacks and the Hispanics. They wanted to keep it in the ghettos. Once it started hitting the suburbs,
and that's what I'm saying.
Then it became a problem.
And that's what I'm saying. He declared a war on something that he foreseen that could be an potential to continue slavery. He foreseen that.
But guess who put Kevin though? Kevin, like I was researching this last night though, but guess who was pushing Reagan? The Intercept put out a greatly researched article. I linked to it in, I believe, one of my last podcasts. But it was Biden who was pushing Reagan.
Exactly.
It was Biden who was pushing Reagan to that. And this is the man right now that they trying to put up against Trump, against Bernie Sanders, who has issued a prisoner's Bill of Rights that was based on the prisoner demands. Now you see Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, you see Amy Klobuchar, the establishment, all rushing to back Biden. Those are all former prosecutors and people who had a hand in prison slavery. So, you know, it's like the whole system is against Sanders, and you got to ask yourself why. If you look at that prisoner Bill of Rights, you end prison slavery at the moment you give a prisoner the right to vote and pay him for his wages and give him human rights and constitutional protections.
Yeah, but who put these people in office? That's what we need to ask ourselves. We're not fighting enough.
Money.
I live in Massachusetts. Hold on.
Let
me explain to you. I live in Massachusetts. This woman, and this is a prime example and a true example, a Spanish woman was running for governor for Springfield. She had all the right issues. Because of her background, she's an ex-cop, was running for the mayor of Springfield. She said she wanted to make sure that make sure that the bus lines was this longer because people was getting pulled over because they had to get to work and feed their families because their license was suspended. She wanted to fight for the war on drugs. She wanted to fight for this. She had all the right issues. All the right issues. The people of Springfield, she got on a live cast, Facebook cast. They did not want to get involved because you know why? They don't know their laws. They scared. They're going to come after me. So what? So what? What are you scared of? Was Martin Luther King scared of it? I'm not scared of it. And I'm fighting for my husband. I fight for my son. I fight for my brothers. I fight for everybody. If we're not doing anything to make the change, then then they're going to get away with what they want to get away with.
And sis, on that, didn't you have an announcement related to that you wanted to speak to? Did you still want to share that with the listeners?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing going back to the slavery thing. These men are going through what they're going through because it's us. We have to make the change. We don't have, like back in the days, where people are going to come up front and fight. You have certain people that first of all, they're making a name for themselves, just putting themselves out there. Because I done went to many of people, like I said in my last cast, I've done written many of people about the situation, and still nothing has changed. If we don't come forth and fight for our rights, then nothing's going to change. Like I said, you can get, I'm not being racist or anything, but I'm being real because I lived a real life. If this was if my man was Puerto Rican, do you know how many Puerto Ricans will come out and fight for us being black? We are so against each other, it makes no sense. My grandmother and them been saying this for years. We need to come out and fight as black people. And we need to stop it. Stop being jealous of each other. Stop thinking, oh, okay, this and that. Or stop trying to be all up front. Yep. You got this dude Face that is down with Queen Flip promoting Trump. He sounds like a fucking, excuse my French, an idiot. At the end of the day, I'm mad because it happens to our community. We sit out here and we promote somebody that's not for us. And it's sad. I'm sitting out here fighting a good fight. I feel I'm doing this by myself. I'm not only doing it for my husband. I got a son to raise. I have brothers, uncles, everybody that has been in that system and been beaten. It's just so sad. It's so sad that only time black people want to come together is benefiting them. Or they got
I don't know
gain.
about that, because black
No
folks,
other race does that.
black folks came.
That's true. That's true. I live it. I live it. Puerto Ricans, you fight one Puerto Rican, you're fighting the whole community.
All right, let me say something, and then we're gonna finish this.
We need.
I did 8.5 years. I did 8.5 years. What I'm doing now, I'm on this phone call. This not benefiting me. The thing you
I'm not saying you, brother. I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you. But when you say all black we don't. We don't. No, just don't say we. Because I'm black.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I had to mute the sister because
yeah, don't say black. Just say the people you know.
A lot, and it's not making for good radio.
Right.
So I had to mute you. We are actually over time, and so a lot of people ain't coming out. Here in this county, for example, we got 130,000 registered voters. We had 2 weeks of voting of free. What is it? Early voting. 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And then come Super Tuesday, North Carolina, in my county, less than 30,000 people, or somewhere around 30,000 people, took the time out to even vote. Okay, so that again goes to what is the system? We say the system. The system is the system of governance. And what is the system of governance? Well, the people that are elected and then appointed, others who are appointed by those who are elected. That's the system. And when we come out in low numbers, because again, barring revolution, which I don't see anybody rising up to shed some blood. So like Malcolm says, let's not speak on no revolution. We ain't even prepared for nothing like that. So what do we have to do? What ways can we fight? Is to fight through the voter box and for platforms that do benefit us. I don't trust the results of South Carolina, where you have a large black electorate, but I refuse to believe that they voted for Biden and get nothing in return, because we're not getting nothing in return. So we need to go ahead and organize more, because they said the young people didn't come out. I blame Sanders surrogates who have a young audience. You got Selena, I think that's her name, Selena, or the young girl that sung at the church at Aretha Franklin's, the little Mexican Latino girl, whatever her name is, real popular. He got a whole bunch of these pop stars that have endorsed him. And I haven't seen them motivating these young people, because he wins with the young people. And so, and then it's a lot of us. When I say us, I'm saying, well, I'm 53, but then, those who are around my age or even younger, adults, we're not turning out in huge numbers. It was beautiful, the people that came out for the millions for Prisoners' Human Rights March to raise awareness, but we have to get past where, if we pass the raising awareness part, we need to get people in political power that can do something. And so I'm gonna end it there and give everybody a chance, to give about 30 seconds of a final comment. Alabama has murdered Nathaniel Woods, and many more people are going to be murdered, not just in Alabama, Mississippi, and just everywhere where the death penalty, states have the death penalty. So, abolishing prison slavery also means abolishing the death penalty. And Sanders is the only candidate with a shot that's anti-death penalty and, in fact, wants to abolish it. So, I'm just tired of the complaining and not seeing no results, y'all. And
right.
So, so everybody go ahead and get their final thoughts in no particular order. Whoever speak up, let's not speak over each other. Go ahead. We'll go with the ladies first.
Yes. Thank you. I mean, I thought it was well said. I feel that again we have to come together and lock arms and keep on fighting. I definitely feel that we are doing amazing things. There are groups that are doing amazing things, and it's just maybe not getting the kind of publicity. But again, we're doing things, and we're doing things as similar to what Kevin said, beyond ourselves and for the next generation, and for a different society, for a society that's actually humane. And part of that requires us to talk more with each other and strategize more, and do some things, and we're doing that. So my only thing is that I get the sense from the caller and maybe from others who didn't call in that we're not doing enough. A lot is being done, and we have more to do, but some changes are being made. And so we hope not to have another Nathaniel Woods anytime soon again. And if we do, God forbid, we have to fight that before it's like the last minute that we're hearing about that story.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll go. So I was just thinking. So quick 30 seconds that abolishing the prison slavery as well as the death penalty, but as well as parole and probation and all these other forms of slavery, right? Because once you become out of prison, you're still enslaved if you're on parole and probation, and that's the mission. And I just feel that for those that's on death penalty, we have to fight more, if not harder, for those guys and girls that's on there. I'm not really too sure if there's like a lot of females on there or not, but we have to fight more for those, as well at the same time as hard as we fought for Mumia, because we won for him. That was a victory for us, getting him off parole, and now we're about to get him out, right? So, in my opinion, I feel that as we failed him, we failed Nathaniel Woods, because we wasn't fighting as hard, and I feel as if we was fighting as hard, we could have prevented this. So, looking forward into the future, we should fight as hard as for those on the death penalty, especially those that's wrongly convicted, and just to abolish this whole system in the ball. And I like Bernie Sanders and his democratic socialism, even though I don't understand what the hell that means, democratic socialism, but I feel he is more adequate than a Bernie Sanders and a Donald Trump. So that's it.
No doubt. Much appreciated everyone's participation and just abolitionism in general. There are always, going to be very difficult issues to face when we're talking about prison slavery, and this is just one of countless of examples of just how vile that these slavers can get down. That said, as far as doing things, heads are certainly doing things. As was mentioned, we do have this justice and freedom for all coming up as far as this Sanders campaign. And from what I've heard, Jailhouse Lawyers Speak, heads on the inside that have been organizing these upcoming actions for Black August and into September have been saying essentially that Sanders is the only candidate that's really speaking to their needs. So that's something else that we can be doing, supporting actions from the inside and doing what we can on the outside to make sure that heads know that August through September activities are going to be, in full effect to end slavery. And heads on the inside are the ones that are organizing that, and we have to do everything we can out here. And on a more immediate note, in the New York City area, we have two events coming up, both on Saturday, and one is for the Move 9, and it's a welcome for the Move 9 at Holyrood Episcopal Church, and then there's also a welcome home family gathering from Stop the Raids NYC, and that's going to be at Jalopy Theater in Brooklyn. So please go to freemumia.com for more information about the Move 9 event, and contact Stop the Raids NYC at protonmail.com, or visit iWalk anywhere online, Stop the Raids online for more information about the Welcome Home in Brooklyn, both Saturday.
I'm sorry, it's really quickly. It's onamove.com that has more information about the move event.
And much appreciate that. Appreciate that a great deal. Onamove.com, indeed.
All right. Well, it was great for the participation of Kevin and Sophia and Tag. Thank you for coordinating events so that we could have this important conversation. I mean, this is state-sponsored murder in the case of Nathaniel Woods, and I guess you could say that collectively what they call the United States of America is a serial killer. You know,
yeah, it is.
You talk about Joe Biden talking about the soul, restoring the soul of America. No, America's been in the business of damaging souls, you know, since its creation. So, you know, we just got to keep fighting. I think it's the theme coming out of tonight. We got to get more involved, and I guess we got to get better at convincing others to fight, because there are just too many. It's more of us than it is of them. And I'm talking in the terms of Malcolm X saying, predicting the time when it will be the oppressed versus the oppressor, and not so much based on skin color, black and white. Because when we look to the other side, we see plenty of black faces, the Kamala Harrises, the James Clyburns, they want to endorse people like Biden. So it really is a class issue, and with racism intersecting into it. So we definitely got to keep up the fight, and thank all the fighters that was on tonight. I'll be back on air tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with David Wren of Tando Radio Show. He hasn't started it back yet, but he called me and wants to do a broadcast on coronavirus again. So it is spreading. It's something that you need to prepare for, because, you know, I can't even say it's coming. It's already here in the United States, including the case here in North Carolina. So that's nothing to be foolish about. And it's particularly taking out our elderly people. So we'll be talking about that and more tomorrow on Black Talk Radio News with Scotty Reed. Again, thank you, all abolitionists everywhere. Keeping with the theme, let's just continue to fight from behind these enemy lines of USA Inc. Peace and blessings to all.
Land of the free, it lies the home of the homeless. Too many die every day, and we really just want this freedom.